All right, Lorenzo. So I think I want to talk about copywriting because I'm a non-traditional copywriter. So I've had a lot of imposter syndrome by even coming out and saying I'm a copywriter because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not even qualified to say I'm a copywriter. I don't have a degree in English. I'm not even a good communicator. I'm actually the world's greatest. I make more typos than anybody else. But to me, I've always thought of copywriting as being strategy. And I think because that's the compass I've used for copywriting, I have been fearless in saying that I'm a copywriter because I believe words can influence people to do things. But I think the traditional way in which people think about copywriting is one is we look at it in terms of command over language. And we say, a good copywriter is someone who essentially is a journalist or an author or whatever it is. And I forget now the second category, but I think there are multiple ways in which we look at copywriting. I want to talk about something that I don't think I've seen anyone talk about, but I think it's such an important part of copywriting. So we talked about this, and we talked about this idea that copywriting is strategy. I want to talk to you about something called the energy of words. And I think it's really, really interesting. I'm going to share an example. So the first statement says Wolfgang Digital looked at 130 e-commerce sites and blah, blah, blah. So the statement here is looked at. Now I'm going to show you another variation. It says Wolfgang Digital studied 130 million e-commerce sites. And the third version says the same thing, but it says the word analyzed. And what's really interesting is that to me, looked at has a very different energy and a different kind of almost like aesthetic, almost like a brand value versus studied versus analyzed. Now, I'm not here to talk to you guys about like what's the right choice and what's the wrong choice. It's irrelevant. But I think this idea of being able to realize that words have energy and words communicate certain things is so important. A classic example I'll give you is I also believe that words like fashion have life cycles. So, for example, 100 years ago, using a word like innovative, like we have an innovative product or breakthrough product, was very new to the marketplace, and I think consumers were really drawn to it because they hadn't heard it so much. Now it has been so overused, just like antibiotics. It actually doesn't even get me to slow down because I completely treat it as just a throwaway term. So breakthrough ideas and innovative ideas are totally meaningless now. Now, if I want to get someone's attention, if I want to communicate that idea, because it's not like there aren't breakthrough ideas today. Of course there are. I just can't use that word, right? I have to use another word, or I have to use another combination of words to communicate that same idea. And so that's it. That's the purpose of this video, Lorenzo, just to talk about the
I
energy
I
level of
I
words.
I love this. I absolutely love it. This reminds me of a lot of adjectives that have different level of energy. Like if we, for example, I'll give you an example. If we put, in the third sentence, Wolfgang Digital obsessively analyzed, right? Sounds very different than deeply analyzed,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Even that, right? Now you're going one step higher in
Correct.
terms of, I think you call it increasing the temperature in
Correct.
your language. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going one step above to put, to dramatize the exercise of the activity of analyzing, right?
That's absolutely right. And if you think about the word analyze versus studied, it's interesting because analyze seems more kind of like, to me, the word, when I look at I feel like an analyst, like a stock analyst kind of person. And studied seems more academic. It feels like someone like went into a lab and like studied something, and the goal was not to, like, almost with analyze, I feel, again, this is just my perception, these are my own interpretations. Analyzed is kind of like you have a very specific outcome in mind, whereas studied is I want to understand the problem. And again, I'm just I'm not saying that's the case or not, but I'm saying words do have, like, the way numbers have like meanings. I think words also have meanings, and I want, a lot of times, a copywriter would actually not, most copywriters are focused more on like the big idea, but I think that, remember, the attention is like a chain, and the weakest link breaks the chain. So if I use even one word, even though everything was flowing well, the user was getting sucked into my story, and I used a word where the user was kind of the spell was broken, there's a probability they'll stop reading. And so I think it's really, really important to kind of be aware of that. Again, there is no,
So
go ahead.
two questions. A, do you ever use the thesaurus when you write copy?
I don't.
And the second question is, I wonder if Chat GTP3 could be a good helper here.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like imagine like you wrote studied, right? No. We want to sound more like we spend more time, not just studied it. Maybe give me a recommendation of other words that I can.
Absolutely right. And the one thing I'll say, I mean, like my style of copywriting is I'm just kind of looking at every word and kind of going by my feel. It's like almost like, like a costume designer on a set. You're kind of saying, oh, this shirt doesn't seem to fit this persona. It's kind of like going by feel. And I really like that. But I just want people to slow down and pay it. Though it's not just the sentence that matters, but it's also the individual words in that sentence that matter. Sometimes, and this is another interesting point, copywriting isn't always just about shortening the copy. A lot of times we focus on shortening the copy. Actually, sometimes you want to expand the copy because you're communicating a big idea. You want to slow the user down. You want to use more words to communicate that idea. So there's so much beauty here. I just wanted to kind of shine light on it. And hopefully, people see value in it. Guys, let us know what you think about this concept of the energy level of each word. Do you agree? Do you disagree with it? And tell us, we talked about, looked at, analyzed, we talked about, those 3 examples. What word would you use? What's the better word there? Please let us know. We will see you again with yet another episode. Take care.